The biomass resources comprise those resources which are generated from agriculture, wood industries, as well as agro-processing and municipal waste. Biomass productivity of tropical and subtropical countries is 5 times higher than non-tropical countries because of availability of fresh water and abundant supply of affordable land and labor. Currently, Nigeria has no commercial biodiesel plant except for a few undocumented production facilities.
To take a while, it's not about importing. What you can import is the equipment. But the manpower that will drive the equipment will have to be trained. In fact, the most important thing is the manpower. You can have all the equipment. If you have the wrong manpower, you come to zero. It's the manpower. So if you have more people that have that technology, then if you bring in the technology, then it will make steady progress.
Okay, the production of biodiesel from algae is ongoing outside Nigeria in the developed countries. Bringing that into Nigeria, I think we should send young scientists out of this country to go and learn the technology. They go into the labs and they carry out the experiments. Then they come back to Nigeria and they are equipped with the equipment, state-of-the-art equipment that they can actually use to start production in Nigeria the same way it is being done outside the world. Bringing the technology into Nigeria is just sending interested scientists out of the country. They go into the labs, they carry out the experiment, they learn the technical know-how, then they come in and they replicate the same in Nigeria.
Right now, we don't have the infrastructure you would need to command such commercial basis of algae. But like we know, there are researches ongoing presently on the different species, different strains, and the different production capacity of these algae that we have, particularly indigenous ones that we have, native species. Give or take, whether we can actually produce it commercially right now, no. We don't have the wherewithal or the political will to fund research in this area as we should. Funding is very, very lacking. Technical personnel is also lacking, and expertise is also lacking. Without this, it will not function. We need all these and all the other components to come in for a productive commercial algal farm to produce commercially available biodiesel.
Establishment of biodiesel production industries in Nigeria will have positive effects on socio-economic development of the country. It has been estimated that Nigeria currently needs about 27,000 barrels of biodiesel per day to be able to replace the entire consumed fossil diesel.
Algae is a base for paint industry. The paint industry that you see, the various colors, the basic colors are from algae. So pigments are taken from algae to produce, apart from the petrochemical that is the base. Some amount of raw materials from algae is also used. Then also in hospitals, algae are used in hospitals. Then of recent, very recent, algae can be used for biodiesel production.
Outside the country, they have made serious advances in the technological levels of extraction, purification, culturing, and identification of strains. But there is still need for more improvement for the process to be more efficient. But in comparison with other alternative sources of fuel, right now, because it had not peaked, renewable energies from solar, from wind, from geothermal, even from waves or tidal energy, produce their own energy depending on how a locality is placed to this energy. For instance, there are places that have more solar radiation, insolation from the sun per unit time than others. There are areas that are coastal, so wave energy and tidal energy are there. But for instance, in Kaduna State, you won't be expecting tidal energy. But in Bielsa State, you could as well tap into tidal energy. So some of these alternative energy are better depending on the locality that you're talking about. But with regard to all of them, I think renewable energy from algae, because of the threefold advantage, gives us more benefit for your pound.
There is therefore an urgent need to isolate and develop productive strains that are adapted to non-arable lands in Nigeria, develop appropriate photo-bioreactors and culture systems for large-scale production of microalgae biodiesel, and develop bioenergy-friendly policies and incentives to encourage bioenergy production in Nigeria. Biodiesel development in Nigeria over the years has been given little attention because of the myriad of economic strain and stress facing the country like any other developing nation. Biodiesel is a renewable source of energy that has not been fully tapped.
There is no biodiesel production in Nigeria. It is absolutely nil in commercial basis. But in laboratory-wise, it is not nil. It is really very active. That is, there are several students and scientists that are working on biodiesel production in the laboratory in Nigeria. But there is no commercial production yet. In fact, in the whole of Africa, there's probably no commercial production except outside Africa. Setting up on an industry, look at the feasibility studies for this and the production of this, and then identify the strain that you require for high production of this, which has been documented. Those strains have been identified, and ongoing researches are on to identify them, both within the country and outside the country. They collect our waters and take them outside the country to look at these algae and grow them under laboratory systems, which can also be developed outside.
Biodiesel can facilitate clean air, readily usable in existing engines and transport facilities, capable of generating employment and income for citizens and the country at large.
The algae is the most efficient combater of global warming situations that we have, because it has at least threefold advantages. Number one, it extracts carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, which leads to global warming. Number two, it can use our wastewaters, which we don't need, and is wasteful and causing issues of pollution in our waters. Number three, it can produce food. It can produce useful product, in this case, biodiesel, biofuel, bioenergy, which is a very useful alternative fuel for our age and does not leave a carbon footprint, unlike the fossil fuels that we use today.
We are just concentrating on petroleum production. But if the government can actually think about going into cultivation of algae for commercial purposes, and most importantly biodiesel, it will go a long way in helping Nigeria in terms of revenue generation. Presently, there is no investment, no funding, especially in our universities. Most students are not going into the field called science. They are running away because we need money to actually carry out the experiment that we need to cultivate algae on a large scale for commercial production. So right now, that is not happening.
Non-renewable is a wasting asset. If you remove it from the soil, it will go back. But the sun is always there. We have summer 24/7, and for all through the year we have summer in this country, in the tropics. If you have wind, strong wind, and you have water that especially in the high areas, like Taraba and Co, and Adamawa, we can produce hydro. And then algae, biofuel using algae.